I was talking about glitches in the matrix, if you like, the other day in a video, and somebody left a really interesting comment that I wanted to talk about. So she said what happened was one day she was on the way to her brother's to feed his animals. Maybe he was at work or away or something like that. So, it was just one of those kind of days, probably nothing out of the ordinary. And she got in her car and she looked at the clock on the car, and initially it said 7:26. So maybe that's in the morning, I guess. And then suddenly it changed to 3:53. Now, I've noticed with a mobile phone, if you've got a clock app and you unlock your phone and you've got the icon, with mine, when it's got an icon that also gives a representation of the exact time that it is right now. And I've noticed it takes a few seconds to update. So initially it will show a time that's earlier, probably when you last locked your phone, and then it will suddenly update. But clocks in a car, they run pretty independently. They're something that would be running all of the time, especially if it's those kind of digital clocks. So that wouldn't explain that, for example. That should be showing the correct time at all time. Now, another explanation is people might say, oh, well, maybe you just kind of looked at it quickly and you misread the time. Now, I could understand that if the numbers were the same, but maybe in a different order, or maybe the first digit was different. So I think I've got a form, I assume this exists. We all know about dyslexia, but I think I have some kind of mild number dyslexia, if that's such a thing, where I used to get it all the time where if I was dialing an extension number in the office and it was 2953, I would end up dialing 2935 or something. I'd end up switching the numbers around, and I will misread them sometimes like that. But like I say, going from 7:26 to 3:53, none of the numbers are actually, they're not the same, they're completely different. So around the concept of living in a simulation, my theory would be, if a clock is inside a car, nobody's sitting in the car, there's no good reason for it to be showing the correct time if nobody is observing it. And it goes back to the good old double slit experiment, quantum physics, etc. And she probably got in the car, and maybe the simulation was not expecting her to suddenly, how you just decide to do something, you just look at the clock. I mean, that would take literally seconds. It could even just be the eyes just flitting across to look at the clock. And it's kind of like caught the simulation out. Do you know what I mean? It's like suddenly it's like, oh crap, I need to update. And then it's updated to the correct time, which is obviously a later time than what it was initially showing. Now, again, this works the same way as a computer game, in the sense that anything you're not currently looking at, the computer is not generating that image, it's not rendering it, because it already takes a lot of computer power when you're playing a 3D game, especially if it's in VR, to produce those graphics. Because you imagine every time you're moving around or changing your viewpoint, it's having to effectively draw what you're looking at. So there's no point at drawing stuff that's to the left or to the right or behind you until you look at it, because that would take like 10 times the amount of computing power. And imagine the amount of computing power it takes to run a simulation of everything in the planet. But actually, when you think about that, really, is it only having to calculate, like right now, in the classic sense, there's this entire planet and there's people doing their own thing around the planet, people driving about, people going to work, etc. But I can only observe like what is in this lovely park that I'm currently sitting in. So as far as I'm concerned, nothing else is actually existing until the people go and observe it. So I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. Have you ever had anything like this happen to you? Talking of which, strange things, I'm sitting behind this huge oak tree, and I just saw on the floor this tiny little acorn that looks like something's had a bit of a go at it. Again, does that make sense, that thing just falls on the ground and turns into into that tree. I don't know. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Please hit a like if you got anything from this video or you enjoyed it. It helps me an awful lot. So thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys soon.